Good evening and thank you for joining us for KREM 2 News at 11 tonight. I'm Mark Hanrahan. Two officer-involved shootings in the same day. First, a story that's developing tonight. Officers and deputies shot a man near Dalton Elementary School in Coeur d'Alene. It all began at around 2 o'clock this afternoon when deputies got reports of an armed suicidal man in a house next to the school. That school went on lockdown as they tried to negotiate with the man who repeatedly said that he would shoot the officers on scene. Then at around 5 p.m., officers say the man, quote, brandished an AR-15 style rifle, and that's when authorities fired. Police are not saying how many officers fired, only that members of the sheriff's office and police department were involved. The man was taken to the hospital. His name and condition have not yet been released tonight. A few hours before the police shooting in Coeur d'Alene, police in Spokane shot and killed a man. They say he was holding a baby at knife point. KREM 2's Ian Smay reports from the scene tonight.
Spokane police officers shot the suspect, which means the investigation will now be carried out by the Spokane County Sheriff's Office and the Washington State Patrol. Spokane Police Chief Craig Meidel said a woman called police crying at about 12:45 this afternoon. She told police she thought her baby was dead. Now, this all happened about a block away from the Stone Street Park, which is where we are standing now. In fact, you can actually see the caution tape from where we're standing in Stone Street Park. The police chief described the scene as chaotic when officers arrived, as multiple cars were moving around the area. He said when they approached the house, officers saw a man holding a baby at knife point. It was several minutes after officers arrived when the shots were fired.
They addressed this individual, and within several minutes after that initial contact where they saw the subject holding a knife to an infant, shots were fired. At this point in time, we believe 2 officers fired their weapons.
That man was taken to the hospital and has since died from his injuries. We're told the baby was not injured throughout all of this. And at this point, it's still unclear how the man was related to the woman and child. But Meidel did say police have received information that this could be a domestic violence situation. The names of the officers who shot their weapons today have not been released. Reporting in the Chief Gary Park neighborhood, Ian Smay, KREM 2 News.
New tonight, a Newport police officer has been arrested and fired after allegations of sexual abuse toward kids. Raul Lopez is charged with 3 counts of lewd conduct with a minor under 16 years old, as well as 2 counts of sexual abuse toward a child under 16 years old. Lopez had been assigned as a school resource officer at the Newport Unified School District. Newport police have informed the school district of the allegations, which were unrelated to his former position as a police officer, they say. Also new tonight, an 18-year-old has died after deputies say a 17-year-old drove and crashed a car while impaired. Deputies responded to that crash near South Bowdish near East 16th Avenue in Spokane Valley. Investigators say the car was speeding, did not stop at an intersection, flipped and hit a tree. Both passengers in the car had life-threatening injuries and were taken to the hospital. The 18-year-old passenger died at the hospital. The other passenger is described as now being stable, and the driver now in the Spokane County Jail charged with vehicular homicide and vehicular assault. Also new tonight, heads up if you take public transit. The Spokane Transit Authority announced they are reducing services due to operator absences. They'll be suspending their express routes, which account for about 10% of their service. This is expected to last through Friday. Routes serving Eastern Washington University and Cheney will continue on a modified schedule. Routes impacted are the North Express, South Express, Liberty Lake Express, Valley Transit, Center Express, Valley Express, and Swoop Loop in Cheney. All right, now it's time for our Night Beat, a look at the top stories from the day. We are starting with some powerful words from members of the Freeman community.
It is the most surreal and haunting feeling in the world to know that death is down the hall and coming.
No one else knows, and no one else can possibly understand what you're dealing with.
I was no longer an innocent high school student. I had to immediately become an adult.
Today marked day 1 of the victim impact statements. Over the next several days, as many as 150 people are expected to tell the court how that September day in 2017 impacted their lives. That's when Caleb Sharp walked into the school and opened fire, killing 1 student, Sam Strahan, and wounding 3 more. Coming up in less than 10 minutes from now, we'll share more on those statements, including how that deadly school shooting deeply impacted the school superintendent. The Spokane Regional Health District says they've had a data breach, so let's walk through what we know so far. SRHD says the personal data of more than 1,000 patients is potentially impacted. An internal investigation found that a phishing attempt may have allowed a data thief to preview protected health information. That includes first and last names, dates of birth, case numbers, medications, and the dates and results of tests. Patients who have been affected have been notified. SRHD says no social security numbers or financial information was on any of the compromised documents. Tonight, one of Gonzaga's top dogs is making national headlines after being kicked out of the kennel. Outlets such as ESPN, CNN, The Washington Post, and The New York Times are just a few outlets reporting that former Gonzaga point guard and NBA legend John Stockton is currently not allowed to attend games at his alma mater after refusing to wear a mask. We first reported on this story yesterday. Gonzaga has a policy at home games that fans either need to show vaccine cards or show a negative test within 72 hours to get in, and all fans must wear masks while at games. In other Zags news, the Bulldogs' reign atop the AP poll was short-lived. After rising number 1 last week, GU back down to number 2. The drop came even after the Zags beat San Francisco on Thursday. Auburn is now the new top team. They received 45 number 1 votes, while Gonzaga received just 15 number 1 votes. Auburn beat Kentucky Saturday, who was ranked number 12 last week. The Zags played LMU on Thursday at 8. Then they play Portland on Saturday at 6. Both games will be in the kennel. Well, that was your Night Beat. To learn more about any of these stories, just text the word NIGHT to 509-448-2000, and we'll send those directly to your phone. Now to some national news tonight. A Washington, D.C. police officer recovering after being shot in the line of duty. This is video from that scene. The chief said officers tried to make contact with the man when he pulled out a gun and fired multiple shots. 3 former Minneapolis police officers appeared in federal court today in the death of George Floyd. They are charged with depriving Floyd of his civil rights or acting under government authority. All 3 are also charged with failing to provide Floyd medical care, while 2 are charged with failing to stop former officer Derek Chauvin, who was convicted last year of murder and of manslaughter. Well, take a look at this video. A man has suffered serious burns after an explosion and fire in a downtown LA high-rise. That fire happened at Chipotle on the ground floor. As you can see, smoke just billowing throughout the 27-story building. That fire caused panic and forced dozens of evacuations. Speaking of fire, more incredible video from California. The so-called Colorado fire broke out on Friday and quickly spread toward Big Sur. So far, about 500 people have been evacuated. The fire broke out hours after California Governor Gavin Newsom accepted $600 million in aid from Vice President Kamala Harris. That money will be used to reduce wildfire risk now. All right, let's talk about tomorrow's forecast. Our gray, dreary January continues. Meteorologist Thomas Patrick standing by in the Outdoor Weather Center. Thomas, can folks expect to wake up to even more fog?
Yeah, it's looking likely, Mark. Maybe not for everybody. In fact, there are no advisories this time around, and the fog isn't quite as thick as of this hour. Not to say that could change between now and tomorrow morning. I do think some dense fog is certainly likely between Sandpoint, Coeur d'Alene, and through the I-90 corridor out towards Moses Lake as well. So we'll be tracking this all the way through up with Krebs tomorrow morning for those latest conditions. But there are those morning hours that look like they will be quite foggy, and of course it will be below the freezing mark. In fact, we weren't even above freezing at all today. Our low temperatures get down to the 20s and even teens for some regions. So freezing fog during the morning hours tomorrow and likely most of this week, but we'll finally shake things up with a bit of snow in our late extended forecast. We're tracking that in your forecast in just a few minutes.
Talk to you then, Thomas. Thank you very much. Much of southern Idaho is back under crisis standards of care. The Department of Health and Welfare says they're being activated because of severe staffing and blood shortages. Under crisis standards, doctors and healthcare workers may ration medicine, ventilators, and other treatments to those deemed most likely to survive. Health and Welfare made that decision after St. Alphonsus and Boise requested the activation. The committee met on Friday and then recommended crisis standards for the entire state. However, after looking at regional hospital capacity, the director decided it was only necessary right now in southern Idaho. Washington Attorney General Bob Ferguson has filed a lawsuit against Google. He is arguing the company secretly tracks consumers' locations even after they turn off location tracking settings. The lawsuit claims Google uses a number of deceptive and unfair practices to get your, quote, consent to be tracked, making it nearly impossible to stop Google from collecting your location data. All right, coming up after the break, we'll hear more from the victims of the Freeman school shooting as they face the man who threatened to kill them 4 years ago. Plus, we'll hear how that day impacted the school superintendent. And later in the broadcast, a new bill could criminalize fake vaccine cards. We're back in just 90 seconds.